the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men to profit their trust powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government language.
Prudence indeed would dictate that governments like established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursue invariably the same object, inventions are designed to produce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw out such government and to provide new guards for the future. Security, 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 security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrained them to alter their formal system of government.
The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candidate world. He has refused his assent to laws in the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and which is suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual or uncomfortable and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purpose of obstructing laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will, along for the tenure of their offices, and the amount and payment of their salaries.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent his swarms of officers who rise up in each office. He has kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject to our jurisdiction, foreign to our constitution and knowledge by our law, giving them the to the acts of pretending legislation.
For quartering large bodies of troops among us.
For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world.
For imposing taxes on us without our consent.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefit of trial by jury.
For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses.
For abolishing the free system of English laws and a neighboring providers, establishing therein a arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments.
For suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government hereby declaring us out of his trust and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolated and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
Has constructed our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
He has excited domestic instruction among us, has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Have we been wanting in attentions our British brethren? We have warned them from time to time of lessons by the legislator to extend unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and indignity, and we have conjured them by the ties of common candor to disavow the usurpations which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity
which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind.
Enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America and General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the ridicule of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all the allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm resilience on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our scared honor.